What's going on, Roto Grinders? Welcome to a Friday edition of Grinders Live, and for a lot of you, maybe the last night that you'll be playing MLB for the year with college football tomorrow and NFL on Sunday. This is pretty much the last big night of the MLB regular season. So if you're trying to go out with a bang, have one last big night, we're here to try to give you some picks to do that. So with me tonight is Boggs Light in a different location than normal. Boggs, what's going on today?
Just coming live from the show from the new office here at Fantasy Aces. No, the show is sponsored by DraftKings, but fortunate those guys allow me to get in here and still contribute to the Roto Grinders community. But yeah, it's kind of sad. It really is. Pretty much the last day that baseball is an exclusive event. So hopefully we can give you guys some good picks to end the season out on a bang. But I'm certainly sad it's coming up, coming down to an end.
Yeah, and it's an interesting night, when you get to these last three games. Really got to be careful with who you're playing because teams will roll different lineups out there, maybe pinch hit for some guys earlier in the game, and it just becomes a little bit harder to factor those things in. And if you've got teams that are playing games that are still meaningful, I mean, this weekend it really means a lot. So there's not too many teams out there that are still playing for whether or not they're going to get into the playoffs. Some teams jockeying for positioning, and teams that are trying to clinch up their divisions, maybe home field throughout the playoffs. So I'd say a good 10 or 12 teams really have something big to play for tonight. Otherwise, you've got teams that are kind of just packing it in and getting ready for some tee times next month. So let's start with pitching, where it's kind of barren slate tonight outside of one Corey Kluber coming off of back-to-back 14 strikeout performances. He has a date at home with Tampa Bay tonight, another team that's pretty much mailed it in. So I think everyone's consensus number one pretty much is Kluber this evening. Other than him, I mean, I'm assuming you like him, but other than him, who do you like tonight?
Well, just to kind of reiterate, Kluber's got to be the top dog, and it's really not even close. You mentioned it, you laid it out perfectly. Some teams are already packing it in, might not really, stretch their starters out, just trying to get them, a few innings here and there, obligatory start for the end of the season. But Kluber, he's got something to pitch for. I know the Indians are out of it, but he, is looking to solidify his name at the top of the Cy Young voting, which I think he's, a clear runaway for it. But, Felix Hernandez, who knows, he'll probably have to make another start here if Seattle's going to have a fighting chance of getting in the playoffs. But either way, Kluber in the middle of, really a breakout campaign. High strikeout guy, very efficient, can go deep in the game. And like we said, while most teams might pack it in and not stretch their starters out, I don't see that happening tonight with Kluber. I think they're going to let him go out there and give the home fans something to cheer about, end the season out in a good note. So I've got Kluber as my top dog. And then kind of going down from there, it's slim pickings. You got Weaver. I'd be a little cautious using Weaver, especially on an efficiency site. I don't expect him to go very deep into that game. I think they're just trying to get him kind of geared up and tuned up for the playoffs because he's expected to start game one of the ALDS. So I don't expect him to go out and really light the world on fire. But on the flip side of that game, I do like Hisashi Iwakuma a bit. His price has come down after a few poor starts in a row here, 3 of them to be exact. One against the Angels, a team he's notoriously dominated over the course of his career. But, they're going to need him if they want to stay alive in this playoff race. They're slowly slipping out of it. And especially since, this daunting rotation has been kind of beat around here in the last couple of games, I think Iwakuma is going to bounce back at home where he loves pitching against an Angels team that is going to be without Josh Hamilton and has been striking out in bunches of late. So Iwakuma is going to be my second. And, from going down from there, it's even slimmer pickings. You've got Nice, having an up and down kind of season. He's intriguing at that price at home versus an American League team that in the Astros that strike out in bunches. I wouldn't hate that pick. Kind of the same goes for Ian Kennedy. You know, he had like 3 starts in a row or something against the Dodgers, and they've got to him. But in his last start against the Giants, he came out, pitched effectively, and he actually has better numbers on the road this season than pitching in Petco. Either way, it goes to a very similar style ballpark, pitcher's paradise. You know, obviously the Giants, you know, they're going to want to go out because, you know, they're looking to, you know, clinch a playoff spot here. I think if they win today, they're in. So it's a little risky, but either way, I expect it to be a low-scoring game, and Kennedy's a guy that can strike a bunch of people out, so I do like him. But other than that, that's really all I'm loving. I'm not going to mess around with Scott Kazmir. That guy is the ace of my shit. So I'm done with him. You know, Mike Leake been horrible this entire month. And you got a couple rookies and cheap guys all the way down at minimum price that I just don't see it tonight from any of those guys to take a risk, even in a GPP, just simply because I don't expect, you know, the ones that have strikeout potential to go deep, and the ones that can go deep don't have strikeout potential. So, you know, guys like Tepish, Jordan Lyles, Cahill, they're innings eaters, but then you've got, you know, the rookie knuckleballer, I believe. Isn't he a knuckleballer for Boston, Stephen Wright?
Have you seen the Yankees lineup?
It's horrendous, but
Jose
again,
Perella, Yuri Perez, Francisco Cervelli, Chris Young, John Ryan Murphy, Austin Romine, Brendan Ryan, Zealous Wheeler, and Antoine Richardson. My goodness, that might be the worst MLB lineup I've ever seen. I don't know if I'd throw Stephen Wright out there, but I can't remember a worse lineup that I've seen in at least for the last couple of seasons.
I think the Reds have rolled out a couple of lineups that might have competed with that. At least made it a good game. But yeah, it's tempting. But again, you know, Yankees, Red Sox, obviously not the series we all anticipated entering this season. Now that both teams are, you know, way long gone out of the playoffs. But yeah, the Yankees, they put out everything they had into that game last night. Not sure if you caught it, but
yeah, I did. I saw a little bit of it.
Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I lost it. I was just, you know, I was a mess. I was just getting. It was just a perfect way for Jeter to go out. So yeah, there's definitely some potential there. You got. When's the last time you've seen an over under of 7.5 in Fenway Park? But I'm not going to be taking a risk on any of these kids, especially a knuckleballer on an efficiency site. That always spells danger for me. So while there's tremendous value to be had, I think I'm paying up for pitching tonight. I'm going Kluber and Iwakuma, and I'm not going to be dicking around with any of these you know, scrubs near the bottom.
No pitch limit on Michael Wacha tonight. Does that interest you at all?
That doesn't intrigue me because I had actually read last night that I thought he was going to be around 85 pitches like he was before, but they need to get him going. You know, fortunately, your Redbirds have been able to, you know, really kind of weather the storm and mostly at the heels of Milwaukee's epic collapse. But again, you guys are starting to swing the bat. If you guys can get Wacha healthy, look out because this guy. He's an absolute beast, and I'm a big fan of him. I think he can turn things around. It's against a D-backs lineup that I believe just came out. It's the same old backs lineup that really hasn't been opposing for really since Goldschmidt left with an injury. So there's definitely, it's intriguing. There's potential there. Love his price, and I also love the fact that if he does in fact not have an innings limit, that he could. There's sneaky potential there. Sure.
Yeah, the article in the St. Louis paper this morning. The quote, actually, the title of the article is "Wacha to go full gorilla tonight." Whatever full gorilla means. The text of the article indicates that how long he's in there will simply be dictated as to how well he's pitching. No pitch limit. Or any kind whatsoever on him. So if he's going fine, I mean, I'm sure they'll be comfortable letting him go 100 tonight. So obviously in a game that does mean a lot for the Cardinals, and his potential is there. He did start the game last weekend when my wife and I were down there the night I threw out the first pitch, so I got to watch him fairly close. He wasn't great, and he did allow quite a bit of solid contact and only had one strikeout. But the good news is that he was throwing strikes. He appeared to have his command, and obviously against Arizona, I know it's a hitter's park out there, but at 7,800 on DraftKings, I mean, I think he fits in well as a number 2 starter if you want to pair him with Kluber, and I think there's a little bit less risk there simply because of the lack of options tonight. And another plus on Kluber, I looked this up while you were talking, is that Cleveland is technically not eliminated yet. They're 3 games back in the wild card with 3 to go, so that's another feather in his cap as to that I don't think they'll limit him at all tonight. So I agree with your line of thinking totally, and if you want to use Waka as your second starting pitcher in a GPP, I think it could be worth it tonight. Be interested to see how many people roll out the guy for Boston with that Yankees lineup. And I think a lot of people will be on Kazmir tonight simply because they're facing Texas. Texas hasn't been swinging the bats too badly of late. I know, they won 3 in a row against Houston this week, and always dangerous at home and a chance to put up some runs. So I'm not rolling Kazmir either, but I do think a lot of people will go there at the $7,400 price tag. Jimmy Nelson may be the only other guy I consider. He's got strikeout potential and gets to face the Cubs, who tend to be boom or bust with the bats. But other than that, I think you nailed all the pitchers.
Really quickly, what's your thoughts on Hutchinson? I know there's some activity in the chat, people talking about him. Orioles without Nelson Cruz and Adam Jones tonight. What's your take on him?
Yeah, I think that gives him a boost. He's not a guy that I tend to roster a whole lot, but obviously the strikeout potential is there, and he gets the benefit of facing a watered-down lineup. But you also got to think of it that half the guys that are pitching tonight are facing watered-down lineups. So I like him. I kind of put him right there in that quality starting pitcher number 2 options for the night.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the boat where if I'm looking for some value, it's probably going to be Waka. But and around that same price range, I like Waka just a touch more than Hutchinson, especially if you're looking to go cheap in cash games. But GPP upside is definitely there with Hutchinson. The Orioles can strike out, and usually when they have their bad games, the opposing pitcher is the one that benefits most. So I don't hate Hutchinson, but again, GPP only play for me. That's the route. That's the approach I'm taking with him.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably where I'd go as far as analyzing him for tonight too. Better served as a GPP play than a cash game play, and especially if you're on your single pitcher site, really hard to fade Kluber tonight. So let's move on to catcher. Some interesting options tonight. If you want to take some Yankees, with that AAA lineup they're throwing out there, they've got 3 catchers in that lineup tonight, so you've got 3 options for cheap Yankee catchers if you want to go there. But no Devin Mesoraco for the Reds. He might not play at all this weekend. No Brian McCann, obviously, for the Yankees. And no Buster Posey for the Giants in their lineup tonight. So takes away some of the options at catcher. Who are you liking as your top options tonight?
Well, pretty much any time you get Jonathan Lucroy at home against vulnerable left-hander. I don't know too much about this Jokic character, but well, poor kid. I bet he's been tormented his whole life with that name. But either way, Lucroy, he's the one who probably has Jokic. But either way, he's the guy I'm paying up for tonight. Still not overly priced. I mean, 4K is very reasonable in my opinion on DraftKings for a guy of his caliber. Bat and cleanup. I know that there's some other intriguing options. In arguably the same spots in their lineup, but Lucroy at home, he's the best of them, and I'm going to be taking him. Going down from there, some mid-tier guys. You got Wilson Ramos, bat and cleanup. Robinson Chirinos, if you're not on Kazmir like me, and Deoner Navarro are where I'm looking in the middle tier range, and you can't quite afford to pay up for Lucroy. But I'm trying to get as many of these Milwaukee right-handed bats as I can into my lineup tonight.
Yeah, definitely a righty. I'm assuming, 9 righties for the Brewers tonight. That they have a very righty-heavy lineup as it is, so it's pretty easy for them to just chalk their lineup full of right-handed bats, and obviously they'll do that tonight against a left-hander. So I like Lucroy as well. Probably your best bet is a high-dollar catcher tonight. If you want to go for teams that are playing for something, I mean, that NL Central race is certainly coming down to the last weekend with the Cardinals 1 game ahead of Pittsburgh. The Reds rolling out their AAA lineup tonight against the Pirates. I would expect the Pirates to be able to get some runs as much as I want them to lose. I do think Russell Martin is a solid play tonight against Mike Leake. Leake, it seems like this happens to Mike Leake every year. He always fades down the stretch. I don't know, if they push him too hard early in the season, but every year it seems like the last 3 years now. I know his rookie season he was horrendous in September, and he didn't look very good the other night against the Cardinals either. That he was opposing Waka that game I went to. So I like Russell Martin as an option at catcher tonight. He doesn't quite give you the power upside maybe that Lucroy brings, but solid option. And with a lot of teams not playing their regulars tonight, you're kind of limited as far as high dollar options. I would agree on Wilson Ramos batting cleanup. This is actually the second game of a doubleheader between the Marlins and Nationals today. The Nats playing a doubleheader for the second day in a row, so they're probably thankful for those expanded rosters. But Wilson Ramos, the guy that I think you can look to tonight. And then if you want to go against Chris Archer, you've got Carlos Santana on DraftKings catcher eligible. I don't have him in very many lineups tonight, but I think he might be a decent kind of under-owned GPP option if you want to go that route. But that's most of, and Molina is there too, but his price has started to come up a little bit on DraftKings. Not really touching anybody else at catcher tonight.
Yeah, me either. I think that with a lot of these salaries kind of coming down towards the end of the season, that it's not too difficult. It's not a situation where I'm forced to punt or go really in any direction. I think you have free range to really kind of load up your rosters how you choose, and then if there are a number of value plays, but not really in great situations. So I think you still stay with that middle tier to kind of expensive. For me, it's Lucroy, but I do like Russell Martin as an interesting tournament pivot, especially since a lot of people are going to see Lucroy at that price. Their eyes are going to get big, and they're automatically going to lock him into their lineups, with not knowing that Russell Martin, only $200 more, has just as much upside. So I am with you on that. But yeah, I'm not going to be risking it with any of these punt options either. Not at catcher tonight. I just don't see the merit in doing that.
Yeah, I think that's we're in agreement there. So let's move to first base, where I think one of the most important topics to discuss, is the guy who's playing first base tonight for the Seattle Mariners. That's Logan Morrison. I believe he hit 2 homers the other night.
Did he? Because I wasn't paying attention. I could have had the game and caught both home runs, and I still wouldn't have acknowledged it. But Logan Morrison, get him in your lineups, guys. He's good at baseball.
In all seriousness, Weaver pitches against these guys a lot. So if you're considering, Lomo or Kendrys Morales or somebody like that, does Weaver tend to have good numbers against Seattle or struggle against them? I did not look. I'm not on Seattle tonight, but just as a talking point, since you get to see the Angels a lot, does he usually fare well against the Seattle team?
Well, it's more of a ballpark issue. Weaver historically is a much better pitcher at pitching at Angel Stadium. He can struggle on the road at times, but the weather, it's starting to become fall out there, unlike here in Southern California. So it's cold and rainy out there. I think Weaver should have no problem, pitching 6 innings. And then again, the reason why I'm not stacking either of these two teams is because you got the bullpens. They're the number 1 and 2 bullpen in baseball going at it. So It's just not a situation I'm going to mess around because even if they can get to Weaver kind of early, maybe knock him out in the 5th inning, uh, you still got to deal with it. And so not on Kendrys Morales, not on Logan Morrison for obvious reasons. That's just a game I'm from Iwakuma tonight, just because I'm not seeing a whole lot of runs coming out of there. And Vegas agrees with me. There's a 7 over/under on that game.
Yeah, most of the games out there in Seattle, especially this time of year, tend to not have very much run production. So let's see. So first baseman, if we get back on track here, let me scroll back up to the top. Detroit is still kind of playing for something. They pretty much have the AL Central under wraps now, but they're still rolling out their A lineup tonight. So I think you can still count on those Detroit guys. They kind of went through a spell earlier in the week where they weren't putting up a ton of runs, but certainly they have a good matchup tonight at home against Anthony Swarzak. So if you want to, roll out a top dollar option like a V-Mart or a Miguel Cabrera, obviously I think those guys are good plays tonight. A lot of the West Coast lineups aren't out yet, so you could get some plays from those games, but you got to make sure that your guys are in the lineup. Don't mind Jose Abreu against Jeremy Guthrie tonight. Very prone to the long ball. I do prefer left-handed bats against Guthrie. That seems to be his bugaboo with the home runs are, allowing power numbers to lefties. But I could get behind Abreu. He can take anybody deep. No home Jerome Williams has somehow been decent the past month. I don't know if that continues again tonight. He doesn't have very good numbers against left-handed bats. So if you want to roll out a guy like a Freddie Freeman, or a Jason Hayward tonight, I don't have a problem with that. I think Freeman at 4,300 on DraftKings is one of the better buys out there this evening because I'm not feeling a whole lot in that mid 3K to 4K range. Obviously, if you want to bank on an Adam Dunn home run against Tepesh, Tepesh does have a propensity, especially in that hitter's ballpark in Texas. I would only do that, obviously, in a GPP. Adam Dunn is never really a cash game play. That's kind of where I'm going at first base tonight. You do have some cheaper guys out there. We talked about Morales, but neither of us are really on him tonight. Same with Logan Morrison. I wouldn't expect a repeat 2-home run performance. If you want some value plays on DraftKings, Brian Pena is hitting second for the Reds. I don't like the lineup, but he's down to 2,300 on DraftKings. And then Tyler Moore is in the Nationals lineup tonight. Not really guys that you can count on for a ton of production. Let me check the Marlins lineup too. They've been batting this Justin Bour kid cleanup a few times. He's hitting 6th tonight. I don't know that much about the Nationals pitcher tonight either. Do you know anything about Taylor Hill?
I do not.
No idea. He's a right-hander. That's about all I know about him.
Yeah, expect... with these guys, got everything clinched and locked up. Expect Hill to go probably as much as they would stretch him out in the minors and, use some of their, extra relievers in this game. So there's some potential, but Justin Bauer, that guy sucks. He's just not good. I've rostered him a couple times, and, 2.1K, his price hasn't risen since he's been called up. It's because he hasn't produced. But, anytime you can get a first baseman at minimum price, it's not a terrible idea. But for me, I'm just not a big fan of the kid. I just don't think he really kind of profiles as a middle of the order first baseman for major league first baseman. So I'm just not going that route tonight. And then of course the A's, they got Adam Dunn batting second. I think Billy Bean's computer's got a virus.
It's that on-base percentage.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's because walks. So no need to mention that he's slow as an ox and strikes out in bunches. But he could draw a walk, so good job, Billy Bean. For me, I'm kind of with you. I'm surprised, unless I'm mistaken, did you mention Matt Adams tonight?
No, I didn't, but I don't want to sound like too much of a homer and recommend Cardinals at every position.
Okay, fair enough, but Cahill, he's always struggled against left-handed batters. I'm loving Matt Adams. I don't believe the lineup is out quite yet. Okay,
yeah,
it just came out.
They came out a little bit ago.
Matt Adams, always moderately priced. Freddie Freeman, those are the two that I'm really having a hard time deciding between. I might just get some exposure to both of them, but that's really what I'm looking at tonight. And then going down, I would much rather have Adam Lind, believe it or not, despite how well Tillman's been pitching, over Adam Dunn. I'm just not seeing it. I don't understand why he's batting second. And then, of course, Moss, don't be playing him because he's got a lingering hip injury.
Yeah, I can't believe he looks terrible.
That whole lineup looks terrible, and it has for the better part of the second half. You really look at it, and you start to realize that, hey, these guys just aren't very good. Moss, these guys that come out of nowhere, and, obviously Donaldson, he's the real deal, but he is Samfold, Sogard. These guys they're a bunch of bush leaguers, and it's starting to show. I mean, when confidence is high, you can kind of rise above, a player's certain potential. But for me, I mean, you look at that lineup, it's not scary anymore, especially with Jed Lowry not even swinging the bat well anymore. So enough about the A's. But again, I'd rather have Lind over Dunn at that price. And I do agree with you. It's intriguing between Abreu and Cabrera, but I just think that at a position like first base, you've got Freddie Freeman and Matt Adams that have just as much upside, in my opinion, tonight. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll be totally honest tonight. I'm trying to go out with a bang on DraftKings. I'm stacking my Redbirds tonight.
There you go.
So, I'm a big believer in the fact that teams that have something to play for are at a big advantage. And, the Cardinals in Hitters Park against Cahill, obviously I think they're in a great spot. Now, their offense has been hit or miss all season long. But they could get it going this weekend. Hopefully that happens tonight against an Arizona team that basically doesn't care anymore. They're rolling out the guys that they can roll out. I mean, they're not packing it in with their lineup like Cincinnati is against the Pirates, but I think having something to play for certainly gives you an edge. And a team like the Nationals that we just talked about, they have everything under wraps. Home field, the NLDS, home field, the NLCS. There's nothing more that they can do. So, especially with a doubleheader yesterday and a doubleheader today, you can expect them to rest some guys the next couple days. So, let's move on to second base. Tons of options tonight. Jose Altuve, the lefty killer, against Jonathan Neese is your highest priced option of the night. And really where I would be going if I'm spending cash at second. Because you got some other guys that are up near the top that are on the wrong side of their platoon splits. Robinson Cano in a tough matchup. Ben Zobrist in a tough matchup against Corey Kluber. So I really don't like any of those other guys above 4K on DraftKings. Chase Utley hasn't been that great this year and has a tough matchup as well. Really, if you're spending 4K or more, I think you have to go all the way up to Jose Altuve. If otherwise, you can go under 4K. Neil Walker's been swinging the bat really, really well for the Pirates, and obviously, as I already mentioned, they do have something to play for this weekend. So I like him. Super cheap price on DraftKings for Jason Kipnis, although he's not having a great season. He's down to $3,400 if you want to go there. But I think really people will fall into either spending on a guy like Altuve or going cheap tonight with Ricky Weeks batting second for Milwaukee. Again, we mentioned they've loaded up on right-handed bats against the rookie for the Cubs. And obviously Ricky Weeks is kind of a boomer bust play. But at $2,600 on DraftKings, really hard to get his kind of upside at that price. So I think that's where most people are going to go tonight. Maybe you can find an advantage in a GPP with some of those mid-range plays. Maybe somebody that's hitting in a good spot in the batting order. But I'm really not feeling a whole lot because on a price level, I feel like it's Altuve if you're spending, and then Neil Walker in the middle, and then Ricky Weeks at the bottom. I have a hard time really justifying another play, because I tend to gravitate towards one of those three guys depending on what price range I'm around.
Yeah, and you're not going to get any disagreement from me. I think if you got the salary, you pay it for Altuve because you know what you're going to get. Quality at bat every time he steps to the plate, but I'm actually kind of bypassing the Neil Walker and Utley, I wouldn't necessarily classify him as having a terrible matchup. But again, he has really hasn't just really been great all season long. He's just been kind of mediocre. But I'm going all the way down to Ricky Weeks, bad second, $2,600. It's simple for me. I think a lot of people might overlook him too, especially since it's not like he's been really lighting the world on fire. But anytime against lefties, he likes hitting against them. In his last 10 starts, he's hitting 360 with an OPS over 1,000 in a hitter's park against good old Jokic. I think that Ricky Weeks is the route you go tonight at second base.
Who do you think the most popular? Do you think the most popular stack tonight will be Milwaukee, maybe Detroit against Swarzak? Who would you think the most popular stack will be tonight?
Well, earlier in the morning I was really high on Milwaukee, but then kind of looking at how easy it is with their suppressed pricing, I think that they're going to be, significantly highly owned tonight. But I'm hoping a few guys slip through the cracks. And obviously, who are they missing here? They're missing Aramis Ramirez. That might change things for people. Hopefully it does, because I'm definitely on Milwaukee. That's the team I want to stack. But looking at their prices, it's pretty easy to do, as opposed to earlier on in the season when a lot of these guys were higher priced and you really kind of had to pick your spots on that team. But either way, that 1 through 5, I'm liking them, so I'm rolling them out there tonight, and I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, another guy some people were talking about in the chat was Javier Baez. Jimmy Nelson's a strikeout pitcher, and I just had to look up his stats real quick. So Javier Baez has 199 official Major League at-bats. He's hitting 161 with a 223 on-base percentage and a 327 slugging percentage. 199 Major League at-bats. How many strikeouts do you think he has without looking in those 199 Major League at-bats?
Well, I know he's racked up a couple golden sombreros this season, so I'm going to say probably almost 50.
90 strikeouts.
Are you kidding me?
In 199 Major League at-bats. That is almost half of his at-bats. Good 45%. Javier Baez.
And Adam Dunn. Those guys I bet they're licking their chops. Give him a full season, and he'll smash that strikeouts in his season record.
He has 90 strikeouts, but 15 of his 32 hits have gone for extra bases. So he's bringing new meaning to swinging for the fences. But hey, he's batting second too. Maybe that's where Billy Bean got it. If Javier Baez can hit second and strike out 200 times in the season for the Cubs, then Adam Dunn sure can do it too. Despite being about half the athlete in terms of speed. But, yeah, that was surprising. 90 Ks and 199 at-bats. Definitely needs to work on that. Obviously, the kid is still 21 years old and a solid prospect. But I was pretty surprised to see the 90 there. So do not go for Javier Baez in anything other than a GPP. Definitely one of those guys that's not a cash game play. So let's move on to the other part of the infield. Let's go to shortstop. Not a position that I am super in love with tonight, but I think Reyes against the righty Tillman. He's on the right side of his platoon split. Johnny Peralta. I think the Cardinals can get to Cahill obviously a little bit tonight. Definitely brings some home run upside to the table. But I'm not loving a ton at short, so I certainly can see if you decide to punt the position tonight. And a whole lot of discussion in the chat about Wilmer Flores batting second for the Mets against Brad Peacock tonight. Peacock's a pitcher that's been terrible all year. I don't know. The price tag certainly is right. Obviously, he had that big game a couple of weeks ago, but I'm just not feeling a lot at second base tonight. Kind of a punty, at shortstop tonight. Kind of a punty type position for me if you're not spending up for one of the top guys.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I'm not even gonna mess around with any of the top guys. Danny Santana always has some upside, but against Porcello, I know Porcello hasn't been great. I'm just not really going that route. I think that it's really down between me. If the most I'm going to spend is in that 3.2, 3.3K range. I kind of prefer Bogarts a little bit since he's starting to turn things around. Is in a better ballpark, and he loves hitting against lefties at home. He's been doing that all season long. So Bogart's at the same price as Flores. I know Flores has had a couple monster games here, but Bogart's, I feel like I can trust him, and I even think he has a little bit more upside tonight, believe it or not. Especially since the Yankees are rolling out this lineup, I can only imagine who's going to be coming out of the bullpen from them. But either way, it's not going to be like your Betances and Robertson and all those studs. So I do like Bogarts. I think he should get a couple cracks at some RBI opportunities. And with Cespedes, Craig, there's some potential to drive him in too if he does get on base. But yeah, I like Bogarts over Elvis Andrews, over Jim Lowry, over Ramos Ramirez. Again, I'm with you. And when we get to third base, we'll talk about Gillespie. I like him tonight, but I think the lefties are the guys you target against Guthrie. Obviously, Abreu in play, but not to get too sidetracked. Just wanted to bring that up. So yeah, and then Johnny Peralta. It's intriguing, but at 4K, I'm gonna take the $800 savings and use that elsewhere. I'm loading up Bogarts tonight.
Who has the better glasses, Eric Sogard or Vance Worley?
Well, I'm gonna go with Vance Worley because at least they're Oakley, made for athletic sports, not the your accounting glasses, taxman glasses that Sogard wears. And hey, the guy keeps sliding. I'm telling him on Twitter, those glasses he wears aren't aerodynamic. He needs to get a pair like Worley has because it slows him down.
This is it's our last show of the year. I have to get all the jokes in by the end of the show, so I'm working my way. We've got Lomo, we've got Cat. It was made for you tonight with Lomo hitting 2 homers last night. Kazmir's pitching. We talked to the A's. I have to see if I can come up with one more by the end of the show. I'm working on it. Anyway, we got third base and outfield left, about 15 minutes. If anybody wants to ask some questions, go for it. Third base tonight, if you're not on Kazmir, I do really like Adrian Beltre. He's crushed at home against lefties all season long. 4,600, the price tag is kind of high, but Texas hasn't been hitting it too bad this week. They haven't just packed it in on the season. Their young kids are playing hard, and that's a good sign if some guys can get on base for Beltre tonight. I do like him as opposed to some of the other top options. I have no idea why Pedro Alvarez is listed at $4,800 on DraftKings, but he's not playing anyhow. That's really the only top third base option I like tonight outside of Miguel Cabrera, who we talked about at first base. Because you have a ton of guys who aren't playing. You have Longoria facing Corey Kluber and Donaldson not facing a lefty tonight. So for me, it's easily Beltre if you want to spend at the position tonight. And then some of the mid-range price guys we've already talked about. You like Connor Gillespie, I would agree. The lefties against Jeremy Guthrie are definitely guys you want to take a look at. So his price tag is still pretty reasonable. But you have a lot of stray bullets to dodge at third base tonight with guys not playing for various reasons. We talked about Aramis Ramirez already. So I think Gillespie definitely an option in the mid-range. If you want a super cheap play, I think on FanDuel, Pablo Sandoval is down to like 2,400. Does get to face a righty tonight, and obviously the Giants kind of want to get their offense clicking. He's been slumping of late along with the rest of that team, but you can't ignore him at that cheap of a price. So I do like him. Definitely a good GPP option if he can get it going. So really that's where I'm at third base tonight. I think I'll have a lot of Beltre. And guys like Sandoval if I'm going cheap, Gillespie, or guys that we may have already talked about at other positions.
Yeah, one guy you did mention who's intriguing to me is Valbuena. 4K, I think he kind of fits in that sandwich between Beltre and Gillespie, the two guys that we like. But that's pretty much all. Obviously, Noah Ramos Ramirez. And I just don't typically like to play second basemen that have third baseman eligibility, like Neil Walker. But Walker is batting fourth, so if you have got the salary, I don't hate it in that ballpark in Cincinnati. But for me, it's Beltre, Valbuena, or Gillespie. That's about the only guys I'm considering tonight.
Yeah, I think that's fair at third base for sure. Obviously, on my Cardinals stack, I will be rolling Matt Carpenter, but I do not really love him at 4,400. He's regressed a bit this year. I mean, he's only hitting 272. Doesn't bring a lot of power to the table. He's kind of been getting over a little flu bug that's been going through the Cardinals clubhouse. But obviously, if you're stacking them, you kind of want to get the leadoff man in there. So let's move to outfield, and then we'll do some questions really quick. Most of the elite outfielders are in there tonight, and again, talked about guys with something to play for. Certainly Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates playing for something tonight, so I do like him. We don't have an Angels lineup yet, so depending, I don't know what they're going to do as far as their lineups this weekend. So you just have to. Actually, it might be out by now. I haven't refreshed my page in a while, but.
Yeah, it's out. You got the lineup they've been rolling with against.
Are
Rays.
they?
You got Calhoun, Bosch, Navarro in there.
So let's see. They've clinched home field advantage in the first round. Are they still battling?
They've got one more game to win before they get.
Yeah. Okay. So one more win or one more loss from Baltimore, and they clinch home field throughout. So, and that could change. I mean, Baltimore could lose at 7 o'clock, and then by the time the Angels play at 10, they might already be celebrating clinching the #1 seed and facing Iwakuma tonight. Don't really think I'm going to be on the usual Angel suspects this evening. Just a little bit too risky for me with the matchup. But I do like McCutchen, Batista at the top. If you want to spend some money, top dollar money with your outfielders tonight. I know a lot of people will be on guys like J.D. Martinez, who's been swinging a hot bat. Obviously, those right-handed outfielders for the Brewers, Carlos Gomez. Chris Davis is at a really good price on DraftKings. Noticed him kind of way down there around 3K. Yep. Ryan Braun's come down in price. So I think the Brewers guys will be popular. I've heard some chatter about Mookie Betts. I don't love the price tag on Betts, but you kind of laid out the positive scenarios for the Red Sox hitters tonight. I'd kind of prefer Cespedes, I think, in the matchup against Capuano this evening. Having trouble capping kind of the lower-end outfielders tonight. I mentioned earlier I do like Jason Hayward against Jerome Williams. Even though Williams struggles more against lefties, I wouldn't be opposed to kind of rolling Justin Upton, too, if you wanted to do that. You just never know. Jerome Williams has the propensity to just blow up at a moment's notice. So those are some guys I like. There's a ton of options though in like the 3K range, like I mentioned, kind of where Chris Davis is, that I really don't know how to handicap. I mean, people have been on Travis Snyder this week. He is batting second tonight. You've got Gregor Blanco, who's been hitting well, leading off for San Francisco. I don't know. I don't know how to handicap kind of that 3K to 3,500 range on DraftKings, I guess, would be the biggest area that I'm not too sure about tonight.
Okay, yeah. The three guys, two of which you mentioned, Chris Davis. I think if you want to pivot off him, you can go up to a John Jay, who's finally become an everyday player in that Cardinals lineup. Swinging the bat well, has a favorable matchup in a hitter's park against a guy in Cahill who we know struggles versus left-handed batters. Or you can go down to a Snyder at 2,900. Just never really been a big fan of Snyder, but again, price in that ballpark, given the way that Mike Leake has been pitching too, it's pretty tempting, and certainly a route I'm going to be taking in some GPPs if I don't want to go with the masses like that likely will on Chris Davis. So those are the guys that I'm with that price range. Not really inclined to go much too far down. And obviously, I do agree with you on all the top options. Those guys, for however long it's been, have pretty much always been in play. But yeah, and then in terms of value, Pompey, he had a pretty big game just the other day, minimum price, and you got the Souza, I believe, Steve Souza, who's in the lineup, minimum price. He was a guy that was all over last week when they clinched the division, the game after, when they rolled a very similar looking lineup out there.
That was fun.
Yeah, but he's a good prospect, so don't sleep on him at the bare minimum. $1,800. But other than that, not a whole lot else I love in that middle tier, kind of cheap range. There's 1,000 guys out there available if you're looking to punt. But again, I think it's still.
I think we may have
There's
lost.
plenty of value scattered throughout the rest of position.
Yeah, I think we pretty much touched on most of the guys. Lost your connection for just a second there, but I don't think we missed too much. Chat, if you want to throw out some questions, I don't care. Throw out some funny ones. This is our last MLB show of the year. So you can throw out some non-baseball related questions if you want to. Let's see. We do have an actual baseball question in the chat. It's Braun and Snyder or J.D. Martinez with some sort of punt play.
David Lowe. He's actually a guy that I like playing when he does in fact get a start because he can steal it.
Is he hitting second tonight?
I believe so. But I still like the Braun Snyder combo. I think that one's got a little bit more upside. Both better ballparks to hit in my opinion. Both. It's tough, but for me, it's going to be Braun and Snyder.
All right. Let's see what else we got in here. Trying to scroll up and see if we had anyone. Top contrarian stack tonight. Maybe it's the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly potential. Knuckleballer, I mean, we see it with Ari Dickey. When those guys blow up, they blow up big time. But the more I look at it, I think that the Royals might be under-owned tonight.
I like the Royals tonight.
Yeah,
I'm still playing for something.
Absolutely, and they've got a matchup against Hector Noesi, who I would probably roster that knuckleballer for Boston over Hector Noesi. You know what you're going to get from him. A lot of hits given up.
Yeah.
A lot
I've made some good money stacking against that guy this year, especially early in the season.
Exactly. So I think that with a lot of people, again, they see Brewers versus a lefty at home, they kind of get their eyes wide open. But this is a team that's disappointed on several occasions, and with them completely out of it, I think that Kansas City is intriguing. I wouldn't really feel comfortable stacking any other teams. I mean, you do have the Rockies as an option against Fausto Carmona, but I'm not going that route tonight. I think that the Royals will be under-owned, so I'm going there.
Yes, I kind of agree with that one actually. And then the White Sox on the other end of that game against Guthrie, especially if you can put their left-handers together, I think would make a sneaky stack as well. Another pairing question: Ricky Weeks and Snyder, or Gosselin and Chris Davis?
Ricky Weeks and Snyder. I mean, Gosselin is just a terrible Major League Baseball player. I'm not a fan of anything he does.
There we go. We hit one more. I had to hit one more before the end of the show.
He's not on my shit list, but he's just not very good. So I think there's no upside in that lineup. So I'm going with
that. Really wasn't a question. I just had to fit Phil Gosselin in there.
Okay.
Stab wants to know if I could strike you out with my eephus pitch.
Hey, I told you I'd take a yard.
He did. He did tell me that on Monday, that you would take me yard. Fair enough.
Well, you would have the lefty-lefty matchup. I'd be very highly under-owned because I swing left-handed. So
you gotta watch out for that split. I'm the guy that's gonna come in and get one lefty out and collect my $150,000 payday for making like 80 appearances and pitching 30 innings, like
Javier Lopez.
I can't. Yeah, and I was trying to think of the guy the Cardinals have right now that I don't know why his name's escaping me right now. The Cardinals left-hander that does the same exact thing. He comes in and pitches to one guy and usually gets on base, and then they take him out. That's escaping me because he's terrible. I'm gonna have to go look that up now. People asking me to sell them on Waka because he hasn't gone more than 5 innings in his last X number of starts. You can disregard those. He was on a pitch count. When he first came back, it was like 50 pitches and then 60 pitches, and his last start was like 75 pitches. And they've said he's full go tonight. So if you're worried about how deep he's been pitching into the game, I think you can disregard that. Now, if you are concerned that Arizona has been hitting a little bit better, do realize that their games last weekend were in Coors Field. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a GPP play for sure. If you want to roster Waka tonight, obviously you've got a ton of guys on the cheap end. Randy Choate was the guy I was trying to think of for the Cardinals. God, that guy's terrible. So I could definitely definitely hold my own with him, I think, and collect my paycheck. Let's see if we got any more questions. Somebody asked about John Jay for 2,300 on FanDuel. Obviously, we did talk about him. Definitely, if he's still cheap somewhere. I think that's most of the questions, and we're right up at 6:30 here, so time for us to say goodbye for the last regular season weekday MLB show of the year. Thank you to those of us who faithfully followed along throughout the course of the 6-month grueling MLB season. Hopefully it was good to you, and I think I'm not sure about Ducky's Tournament of Shame this weekend. I saw Dean posting a link to that in chat, but we usually recommend that on Fridays. He's moved it to NFL now, so that'll be running on Sunday. But thank you to all of you that have followed us throughout the season. We appreciate you coming along, keeping us company on the show. Boggs, congrats on the new gig over there at Fantasy Aces. Hopefully everything works out well for you.
I appreciate it, and I'm glad we were able to get one more show in before the end of this regular season. But yeah, end of baseball season means it's time for hockey season. So hopefully we'll be able to get a few of you guys grinders in there. But either way, again, good luck tonight, grinders. Good luck the rest of the NFL season, and hope to see some of you for NHL season.
All right, good luck, everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk at you later.